Hi, this is Dr. Joyabrata Sarkar, Faculty Head of Power Educational Institute. Today we will discuss about the animal tissue chapter. So in this chapter we will learn about the things that we have already learned in previous classes. So we will talk about the all the tissues which are present in all the animal bodies. So in case of knowing this chapter, we have to know about the organization of a single organism. So in case of an organism, it is all the things which are made in the universe. It is made up of atoms and molecules. So these atoms and molecules are also present in the organism in the form of biomolecules like DNA, or it can be any carbohydrate, fat or proteins, anything that is forming the ultrastructure of the cell. So these biomolecules are forming the cell. For here the example is smooth muscle cell. So smooth muscle cells are the cells which are present in any visceral organ. So these smooth muscle cells are forming the smooth muscle tissue. So they are performing the similar function togetherly and they are forming the structure that is the smooth muscle tissue. These tissues are present in every organs. So these tissues are organizing itself to form or to perform the same function. So that is, it is forming the organ. So here the organ example is urinary bladder. This urinary bladder is basically storing the formed urine which is in the kidney, and it is receiving this urine from the ureter, and this urinary bladder is part of the excretory system. So many organs togetherly perform the similar functions and it is forming the organ system, and these organ systems are present in a single organism. So it is starting from the basic atoms and molecules, that is the DNA, RNA, protein and all the biomolecules which are forming the ultrastructure of a single cell. Multiple cells are collaborating together to perform the single function, and it is forming the tissue, and these tissues are forming the organ, and these organs are performing similar function to form the organ system. So ultimately these organ systems are forming a complete organism. So if we learn about the definition of tissue, so what is tissue? Tissue is basically a group of cell similar in form, structure and embryonic origin. So here three things are very important. One is form. Form means how it looks or what is its shape, either it is squamous, cuboidal, what is the shape. And structure, similar structure means all the ultrastructural organelles are same in all the cells present in a single group, and they are having of similar or embryonic origin. Embryonic origin means either it is originating from the ectoderm, endoderm or mesoderm, that is the three germ layers. So it is originating from the same germ layer, all the cells, and they are coordinating to perform the specific function. So three things are very important. One is structure, one is function and one is embryonic origin. All are same in the simple tissue. So what is the definition for the complex tissue? Complex tissue means, or compound tissue means, it is the combination of more than one tissue to perform the single function. So this is basically defining the tissue, and tissues are broadly classified into four types. One is epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue means all the tissues which are forming your body coverings, either the outer or the inner coverings. So these are mainly for the protection. There are other functions also, we will discuss in the later part of this chapter, but the main function is the protection. Connective tissue we will talk about later, but the muscular tissue is the forming the muscles of your body, though it can be a skeletal muscle that is helping in your voluntary movement, or it can be a smooth muscle that is forming the organ, or it can be a cardiac muscle that is the most vital organ, that is heart. So these muscles are for the movement and locomotion. Nervous tissue is the master of all because it controls all the other tissues like epithelial tissue, connective tissue and muscular tissue. Mainly it is helping in your impulse conduction. Though it can be sensory, can be motor, we will discuss in later part. And the connective tissue is basically connecting the epithelial tissue with the muscular and nervous tissue. So connecting tissue, that is connecting the epithelium with the other tissues, is the connective tissue. So it is the binding structure for the all body organs. So connective tissues we will discuss in detail. So this is the broad classification. Epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissues can be classified into mainly two types. One is simple epithelial tissue, one can be compound epithelial tissue. So simple epithelial tissue can be either squamous or cuboidal, columnar, ciliated, glandular and pseudostratified. And compound tissues can be either stratified or transitional. So these are basically the epithelial tissue. Muscular tissue can be of three types as I have discussed. It can be either striated, that is the skeletal muscle tissue, that is for the voluntary functions. Smooth muscle cells are for the involuntary functions in the vital organs like lungs, kidney, liver, etc. Cardiac muscle is only specially present in the heart because heart is only organ which is functioning 24/7. Connective tissue can be broadly classified into fluid, skeletal and proper. So proper connective tissues can be either areolar. Areolar is the connective tissue which is present in all the body, and adipose tissue is present in some structures of your body which is storing the fat like the belly and around the vital organs for shock absorption, and the dense regular connective tissues, that is the ligament and tendons, which are basically for the movement. Skeletal connective tissue is forming your body framework like bones and cartilages. Fluid connective tissue is the most specialized connective tissue which is flowing through the blood vessels and the lymph vessels. So it is blood and lymph. Nervous tissue is mainly formed by the neurons and the nerve cells. So we will discuss each and every tissue in detail in our next class.